Well, my friends and family call me George P., so feel free to call me P.
He comes from one of the most powerful families in American politics. The grandson of former President George H.W. Bush, nephew of George W., and son to former Florida Governor Jeb. So just who is George P. Bush?
George Prescott Bush is an American attorney, a U.S. Navy Reserve officer, real estate investor, and politician who serves as the commissioner of the Texas General Land Office. He is the eldest child of former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, the nephew of former President George W. Bush, and the grandson of former President George H.W. Bush. George P. is also named for his great-grandfather, Senator Prescott Bush.
I pledge allegiance.
The nation first caught a glimpse of a much younger George P. when he delivered the Pledge of Allegiance at the 1988 Republican National Convention. He's helped campaign for his dad and uncle as a young man, but now George P. is officially a candidate.
And at the age of 12, Bush spoke before the 1988 Republican National Convention, which nominated his grandfather. He also spoke at the 1992 convention on the occasion of George H.W. Bush's renomination. He campaigned for his uncle George W. during the 2000 and 2004 presidential campaigns. When asked in 2003 about whether he planned to run for office himself, Bush replied that his grandmother, Barbara Bush, had advised that, quote, anyone thinking about entering politics should distinguish himself in some other field first. Make a name for yourself, have a family, marry someone great, have some kids, buy a house, and do the things everyone else does instead of just running out and saying, hey, I'm the nephew of, or the son of, or the grandson of, end quote. And speaking specifically of his father Jeb Bush's White House ambitions, he cites Bush fatigue as a discouraging factor. George P. Bush served as a member of several diplomacy missions, including one to Nicaragua for the second peaceful transfer of power in that country, and one to Brazil for the Pan American Games in 2007. He also joined 2 U.S. congressional delegations, one to Saudi Arabia during the Arab Spring of 2011, and one to Turkey in 2012 at the time of the civil war in Syria. In 2012, he was the Deputy Finance Chairman of the Republican Party of Texas.
I know the Bush family, and I really like them, and maybe he'll be a chip off the old block.
Do you hope he is?
I hope he is.
Doesn't seek the presidency.
You're part of that family. Should he or will he run, do you think?
Well, you know, I wish I had some confidential information to share with you this afternoon, but...
On March 21, 2007, the United States Navy Reserve announced the selection of George P. Bush for training as an intelligence officer through the Direct Commission Officer Program, a Navy initiative whereby applicants in specialized civilian fields forego the typical prerequisites of a commission, such as the Naval Academy, NROTC, or OCS, and instead attend 3 weeks. Yes, 3 weeks of Direct Commissioned Officer Indoctrination Course, DCOIC for short. These are classes on subjects such as naval history, customs, and courtesies, followed by online classes. Bush told the Politico that attending the October 2006 launch of the aircraft carrier named for his grandfather, the USS George H.W. Bush, inspired him to join the service. He also called the death of Pat Tillman, the NFL player and Army Ranger who was killed in a friendly fire incident in Afghanistan in 2004, a, quote, a wake-up call, end quote. George P. Bush served in Operation Enduring Freedom for 8 months and returned to the United States in 2011. During that deployment, he was given a different name for security purposes. Not even those he was serving alongside knew his real identity.
Because you are a Bush, do you feel pigeonholed at all in terms of ideology? You have to, follow in the footsteps, so to speak, of, your uncle or your grandfather, even your own father.
To a certain extent, but I've said from the first day of my campaign that I'm going to be a man in my own right.
The 37-year-old former high school teacher, Afghanistan war vet, lawyer, and business owner hopes his experience, not just his name, will help him reach voters.
Bush currently manages St. Augustine Partners, an energy and technology-focused investment firm in Fort Worth. Previously, he co-founded Pennybacker Capital, LLC, a real estate-focused private equity firm in Austin. The company was originally named N3 Capital and headquartered in Fort Worth, Texas. Bush left Pennybacker Capital in 2012. Before entering the real estate investment business, he practiced corporate and securities law in Dallas with Aiken, Gump, Strauss, Howard, and Feld, LLP. Bush was the national co-chair of Maverick PAC, a national political action committee dedicated to engaging the next generation of Republican voters. Bush was also a co-founder and on the board of directors of Hispanic Republicans of Texas, a political action committee whose goal is to elect Republican political candidates of Hispanic heritage to office in Texas. Bush announced in September 2012 his intention to run for office, saying that he was considering one of several state offices. 2 months later, he filed papers required to run for state office in Texas. The same month, his father, Jeb Bush, emailed donors requesting that they support him in his 2014 bid for Texas Land Commissioner. And in January 2013, Bush filed a campaign finance report stating he had achieved about $1.3 million in campaign contributions. In March 2013, Bush filed to run for Texas Land Commissioner. The main role of the land office is negotiating and enforcing leases for mineral rights on millions of acres of land owned by the state of Texas.
Because you are a Bush, do you feel pigeonholed at all in terms of ideology? You have to, follow in the footsteps, so to speak, of, your uncle or your grandfather, even your own father.
To a certain extent, but I've said from the first day of my campaign that I'm going to be a man in my own right.
The 37-year-old former high school teacher, Afghanistan war vet, lawyer, and business owner hopes his experience, not just his name, will help him reach voters.
This has been Me the People. Break it down.